The vocabulary strategy that I chose was semantic mapping. It is a strategy that students can use to learn new words and concepts by visually representing the relationship between words and ideas. It is a graphic organizer that helps the students break the word down into simpler terms, but it can also help the student make the connection of other words to this word while also going off of prior knowledge that the student may have. So this is an example of a semantic map. And I feel in differentiation, this would be a semantic map that students who struggle with vocabulary would use because it's more simple. It's not as complex as the other semantic maps. But after you give the student the definition of what space is, then you would have them put the word in the center of the circle. And then off from that circle would be words that connect to that word. So this would be where their prior knowledge would come in. We know in space there are stars, astronauts, asteroids, solar system, and planets. These are all things that are connected to space, all things that you can find in space. And so that would help the student understand what that word is. But I also feel that this semantic map would be useful for students who are struggling with vocabulary, as well as on grade level and advanced students for vocabulary, teaching vocabulary and comprehension. Just because it is a little more complex. It helps break the word down a little bit better, helps the students understand how the word can be used, where you would find the word, words that are similar to it, words that are connected to this word, and then visual representation for those students who are more visual learners. So I feel that out of the semantic maps, I would use all of them, but this would probably be the one that I would use the most. Teaching social studies or science has a lot of complex vocabulary and concepts. So this would probably help break it down a little bit better for the students to understand what we were talking about. But I also feel that this semantic map helps in their oral and written communication both, because it helps them understand the meaning of the word and how the word can be used. So they would understand how to correctly use the word in discussion, in conversation, in an essay, or on an assignment. However it may be, this would help them to break the word down a little bit better and understand and comprehend how to use the word and when it would be appropriate to use the word. So the word that I chose for this example was history. So you put the word in the center box here. In the top left box, you would put the definition of the word, which is the study of past events, particularly in human affairs. In the top right box, you would put an example of where you would see this word in use. So we would see this word in a social studies textbook, in a dictionary, or even in discussion of past events. In the left middle box, I put antonyms of the word history, which would be present, future, tomorrow, or now, because these are all words that would not represent what this word means. But you can also use a box over here to put words that connect to history. So you could do events like the Civil War, Revolution, just anything that is connected to history that would help them understand what that word means. You could put in that box instead of antonyms. In this box over here would be words that are similar to the word history or mean the same. So synonyms would be past or former. And so they would understand a little bit better what that word means. In the bottom left box, you would put either a visual box or a connection to the student. So if you have lines in the box, they can make that connection to themselves, their interests, whatever it may be. So for my connection, I put history has taught me that there were many women who made it possible for me to have a voice in elections, and I'm going to use it. And a good way as well that they could know for sure that they're using that word correctly in the sentence or in their connection is by replacing that word with the definition. So the study of past events, particularly in human affairs, has taught me that many women made it possible for me to have a voice in elections. I'm going to use it. So that's how they can know that they're using the word right. But you could also use it as a visual box. You can make it a a blank box where they could draw a picture that makes a connection if they're more visual learners. And so for my visual, I drew an American flag because it represents the past. The flag was made in the past, but it also represents our independence and our freedom that we gained in 1776, and that is a past event. That is something that happened in history. And then in the bottom right box, they could write a sentence using that word. So history is one of my favorite classes. The study of past events, particularly in human affairs, is one of my favorite classes. So they would know how to use that word, when it would be appropriate to use that word, and they can effectively use that word in conversation or even on written communication. And this is another semantic map. It's more complex. I feel that this would be a map that students who are more advanced could use. And this example is more reading and language arts. So in the center box would be verbs, and off from verbs, they put present tense, past tense, and action. So then you would, in the box around action, you would make other circles that are action verbs. So to give an example of what an action verb is, or past tense, what are past tense verbs, and present tense, what are present tense verbs. And this kind of gives them a visual representation of what these words mean. I feel that this helps them to make connections to the words, helps them understand relationships to the words, and this helps them expand their vocabulary a little bit more. So in expanding their vocabulary and understanding how these words are connected, how they're similar, how they can be used in a sentence, how they can replace the definition with this word to know how to use the word correctly, and where it would be appropriate to use it in written communication or in discussion or conversation with somebody. They're expanding their knowledge of these words, and that helps them become better writers and communicators. I also believe that semantic mapping helps them to organize their ideas better. They can use the more advanced semantic map, but again, with using the one with the 6 boxes, and it breaks the word down a little bit better, that can help them organize their ideas so they understand where they want to use this word. So say they're using a semantic map for an essay that they have to write, that they can write this essay using the semantic map, and it helps them break down this word and helps them to understand, yes, that would be the appropriate place to put it. I can put this in my thesis. I can put this in my closing statement. I could put this in my introduction. However it may be, this helps them to understand and become better writers and communicators, because they would understand how to implement that word into conversation. So semantic mapping is definitely something that I would use in my classroom, as it helps to improve their oral and written communication. It helps them to understand or improve their fluency of the words as well, but it also helps them to comprehend what the word means. And so that not only expands their knowledge of the word, but also just expands their knowledge. It helps them to learn new concepts and new ideas. And that's something that I want to implement in my classroom.